Parliament is the ultimate decision-making institution of our country. I mean, that's where the laws of the land are made. That's where all the major decisions are made. And if the Parliament is serious about an inclusive society for persons with disabilities, the leaders of the Parliament have to make sure that they send the right signal. Let me give you a classical example, and that's why I know, that the government and probably the Prime Minister have to sit and talk to his
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 colleagues.
senators on how they deal with these issues, because I have had the reason to deal with the Prime Minister in the past, and I mean, he has demonstrated and shown me absolute respect, and that sort of respect that he shows me needs to transmit to the
All the members of the House.
the senators, because I mean, there was a debate in the Parliament a couple of weeks ago about the national
Need.
the
ID.
needs.
Yes.
And in the debate, there's a section that calls for enrollment, the requirements for enrollment. And I pointed out a deficiency in the requirements and indicated to the government that this disability and type of disability needs to be included, because we need to have a database, a national database, which is capturing issues relating to persons with disabilities, so that we can effectively plan for these individuals. When the leader of government business responded, she told me that the technical team said that they in their consultation with the community of persons with disabilities, they never wanted it to be in the document.
Oh.
I was very frightened, surprised at that utterance, and so I went to follow up with the disabled community, because I am in constant contact with the disabled community. I do research with them. I chat with them on a regular basis. I am out there with them, and I understand their challenges. So when I speak in the Parliament, I'm not on a frolic of my own.
You're not speculating.
And when I check with the JCPD, for example, the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, they told me that in the Joint Select Committee, they made that recommendation that disability be included in the legislation.
So this was either just
and they
plain.
provided me with the document which showed that they did make the recommendation. So I sent it to the minister subsequently and pointed out to them that this is the situation. I mean, the legislation has been passed.
Uh-oh.
Without the recommendation, or the recommendation was captured?
Without the recommendation being taken. And, it's not the first time that I am putting these recommendations in legislation in the Parliament, and the government simply
move on.
Push it aside.
Yeah.
Push it aside,
I have to ask you this.
And move on.
I have to ask you this, Senator, before Pastor Palmer puts his question. You know that many times when violations of this nature occur, you can only get a final or a definitive word or direction when you take it to court. Are you minded in any way to have your violation made the subject of a judicial inquiry?
Well, I have thought about it, and it's a matter that I am prepared to take on the advisement, because, we are going to change the course of history when we take these decisions that will send a signal to the authorities that, look, you have to make sure that you do the right thing. And that is what we want, the right thing to be done. So
And may I
I,
say,
I, I am
Senator,
not averse to it.
and that is what the people of Jamaica are counting on, that persons who are in a position to fight for the changes to be made and for the right thing to be done, that they have the boldness and the courage. I hope that you do, and if you do, and I can be of any assistance, I gladly volunteer it right now. Pastor Palmer has a question for you.
All right, okay, we'll talk further on that.
Yes.
All right, so it's important. I want to shift the discussion a little bit. Even in terms of as you sit as a part of the parliament, we've been talking about it, the need for not we don't call it constitutional reform. Some people on this program have said we need to do away with this constitution because it does not adequately reflect the views and the opinions of the people. What are your views on constitutional reform or constitutional change or constitutional do away? Because that point that you just made just points to the fact that there's something wrong in terms of how we conduct the business of the people of Jamaica in a way that is good for them.
I strongly support constitutional reform.
Mhm.
I believe that there are a number of areas that we need to revamp in our constitution. Um, the constitution has made provision for a number of things to take place for the good governance and order of Jamaica. And I believe that if we were following the Constitution in all spheres of life, we would be much better off. But
Mhm.
I mean, notwithstanding that, there are areas that need modernization um, and change. For example, one, I mean, I subscribe to the uh, the moving away from the Queen as our head of
Head
state,
of
and
state.
I don't matter which political party is going to make the move. When it comes to the Senate, I will be voting for the
The
Queen
change.
to be removed.
Yes.
So if the government is hesitant about going forward. They already have more than 42 in the House of Representatives. They have 13 in the Senate. They want one more in the
You are
House
that
of
one.
in the Senate, and I am prepared to
To
be
be
that
that
one
one. Well,
to
I
get
celebrate
rid
you
of
for
the
it.
Queen. Also, I am in fulsome support of moving away from the Privy Council as the final appellate body in our jurisprudence. You know, I read an article uh, about 3 years ago that former Prime Minister Bruce Golding wrote, and I have a lot of time for Prime Minister Golding and his thoughts, and he pointed out that based on his review of the CCJ and the cases that they have dealt with over the years, that the CCJ have done extremely well.
We should
And
have
I
no
think
reservation
we should have
yeah.
no reservation. It is antiquity.
Can I tell
In
you,
terms of,
Senator,
thought.
Senator,
So,
I am of the view that if we are to accept the mistakes and the frailties of human thinking, then it's best we accept our own, because the Privy
absolutely.
Council is not perfect. They make
Yes.
decisions based on the political realities and the economic circumstances of their own people, and we should be
Right.
prepared to live with the realities of our own. So I endorse that. I
Yes.
don't look for perfection in
Yes.
my own when I'm dealing with the imperfections of others. So
Yes.
I too am looking forward to the day when the highest court in my land is either within my own boundaries or just
Within the region.
or it's within the region. Mind you, you, sometimes you can get to London faster than you get to Trinidad. But that is, those are some other things that we
that we have
need
to
to
fix.
address
Yeah.
because,
But one of the things, one of the creative things about the CCJ that I like is that, they are prepared to come and fit in
Your
Jamaica.
country. Yeah, man.
absolutely, which is just wonderful.
Wonderful,
Wonderful, yes.
absolutely. And, I just want to also share another thought with you along the lines of constitutional reform,
Yes.
because I also believe that we need to look at expanding the representation in the Senate of some specific groups. I believe that we have to look at making sure that our diaspora is represented. I believe that at least one seat should be in the Senate, in light of the significant contribution that
They make
the
to
diaspora
the
is contributing to our
that's an
country.
that's an
And
interesting thought.
I am in the Senate. I am in the Senate in my own right as a member of the People's National Party. It so happened, it is fortuitous that I am a person with a disability, and so I'm speaking on behalf of persons with disabilities. But I believe that the diverse groups of our society, persons with disabilities, Rastafarians,
Yes. So
should have a seat.
greater inclusiveness along a cultural as well as an economic spectrum.
Absolutely. If it is that we're talking about our motto, out of many one people, let it be reflected in the highest decision-making institution of the land. And so those are some of the things that I believe that there are other ideas. I mean, I was on a path.
Yes.
And I can say publicly without saying it to my friend and colleague and partner in crime, Donna Scott Motley, we were prepared to move a private member's motion to make some amendment to the Constitution to change the language, to make it more modern as it relates to persons with disabilities. But in light of the pending constitutional reforms,
Yes.
that we are going to
It can be
see,
captured in
I
that.
am going to be capitalizing on that moment because the Constitution has some negative nomenclatures as it relates to persons with disabilities, at different points, and that needs to be expunged from the Constitution.
One follow-up question. Do you think it took us many years to include in our constitution the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom? It's a long, in terms of the process of talking about it and getting it into the constitution. The amendments, do you believe that there should be a time frame for a new constitution of Jamaica to come about? That it don't take forever? Because the Jamaican people are very impatient in a boss. What do you think?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And that is why, in my debate on the state of emergency a couple of weeks ago, I called for the resumption of the Vale Royal talks. And these are some of the issues that the Vale Royal talks can deal with in terms of setting out a clear agenda. And we have a monitoring committee, a monitoring team which comprises members of civil society, the private sector, the church community, to hold the parliamentarians accountable in terms of pushing that agenda, because I wouldn't want to see another 10 years,
Yes.
which I don't intend to be around in the politics by then, because I
You want to do
get
some other living.
I'm not going to make anybody push me in any wheelchair out of the parliament at all,
Well, I'm not sure there'd be anybody to push you. I think you'd have to find your way out. But
because of the changes that have happened.
They seem to be an
Yes.
uncaring bunch in many ways. But
Yes.
many times, Senator, looking from the outside, I have seen the need for independent citizens who have no particular political stripe or lever to pull. I've seen the need for citizens to be able to have access to Parliament, perhaps be able to themselves get a motion before on the floor. And I've not, the truth is, I have not researched it thoroughly, but I just wonder if in your own musings and your own search for reform, you see a way for the citizens, the people, to have a voice, which, if their position is not being represented with any force in the parliament or the senate, or could I, as a citizen with an issue, um, get an audience and be able to promote something being put for the attention of the parliament or even the senators?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It is there. Petitions. Um, you as citizens can design a petition and gather the requisite support and mandate the parliament to take action in a particular area. And all you need to do is to get a friendly voice in the parliament, whether in a member of parliament or whether it be a senator, to carry to be tabled inside the parliament. But the provision is there. The standing orders make provision for it.
Okay.
I am going to lean
Follow
on
you
you
up
for
on
that
that
standing
standing
order
order.
because there was a time when I would ask for things through a certain avenue, which I no longer press. But I find also, though, that access to the information on the arcane matters, the details of how things happen in our parliament, that access is not. I think it could be better. What's your knowledge of it? How does the average citizen gain access to the inner workings so that, for example, that standing order could be within reach? I'm not seeing it on a website. I'm
No, man, it's there. It's there on the, in fairness to the parliament, it's there
Yes.
on the parliamentary website. If you go to
I have to
um,
revisit it then.
japarliament.gov.jm,
Yes.
japarliament.gov.jm, and you look for the standing orders. You'll see the standing orders of the Senate, and you'll see the standing orders of the House
I
of
certainly I'm
Representatives.
I am going to do a more thorough search because I think it is time
Yes.
for, maybe even when you are a lone voice on an issue, it is time for the people who share your views or who want to get a friendly voice somewhere in any one of the house can gain audience and push for certain things to be done, because as pastor said, we're impatient for change, and I don't think we're in a mood to just wait until the politicians feel ready
You know,
to do it.
I mean, I tell you, even parliamentarians, and I tell you, you know, some of my colleagues in the parliament might take offense to this, but I speak my truth, because some parliamentarians are just lazy. I mean, for the entire time that they are in parliament, they have never carried a motion. Um, they have never asked a question um, to a minister or to the government in the parliament, and the standing orders makes provision for those to be used by
By
the
members.
parliamentarians on behalf of the people.
Okay.
And I have had several motions, several motions. That's why I'm able to bring to the public's attention in the parliament a number of issues relating to persons with disabilities.
Disabilities.
And
Well,
I've asked
I think
several questions.
I think you're gonna come under a little more pressure
So
now
no,
because
because you come out
persons with
with
abilities
abilities. When jump on you.
are
This is
good.
not only disabilities, but persons with abilities. I'm moving the conversation. Corruption. Corruption.
Mhm.
Corruption. Any thoughts on
Yes.
that in terms of, because it is like we are drowning in a morass of corruption in our
Cesspool.
country. Yeah, am I a cesspool of corruption? But what are your thoughts on that, Senator? What?
I tell you, I'm very disturbed and I'm very saddened about it and very disgusted by it because it's only uh, a crooked person, a person with an evil heart who is going to get into public service and plot and scheme to plunder public resources. And, I mean, I was reading an article some time ago which points to about 10% of our
GDP.
GDP
Hmm.
going away because of acts of corruption. That makes it about $90 billion, which, when you look at that, it's monies that are being taken away from schools, from
Healthcare.
hospitals, from the road network, from the police force to fight crime, etc. And it disgusts me. And I have said to myself, and I have said to even my leader of the political party that I'm a part of, that if and when my party should be returned to power, we have to make it unequivocally clear that we are not going to condone corruption in any shape or form.
Change your
As a
laws,
matter of
change your
fact,
laws, change your laws. Integrity Commission is on a reporting thing. Change your laws that indeed in some countries if you are found to be corrupt, you are shot. I don't mean
Um,
something
listen,
so drastic.
well, I'm not gonna go
yes.
there,
All right. Let
but
me.
I am fully in support of changing the laws to make sure that whatsoever the Integrity Commission has to do is done. I am prepared. I am prepared to subject my assets and my reporting to public scrutiny on an annual basis because I am in the politics not for feathering my own nest, but for improving the quality of life of the Jamaican people. And I am prepared to say to my leader, I am prepared to sign and say to my leader, if Floyd Morris name calling any corrupt activity, resign me from the cabinet if I am a
So
part of your cabinet.
I applaud you for saying that. It is where my focus is at this time because you started off by mentioning it is the evil heart of an individual that leads down a certain path. And many of us, we have seen it time and again that when matters of corruption, and I say corruption in the broadest sense, malfeasance in office, whatever, dereliction of duty, when those issues arise, we tend to hide behind some conventions. It is before the court, we cannot prejudge, and we begin
Yes,
to get very technical. But
yes.
I am always focusing on responding to the spirit of a thing rather than to the letter of the law. The spirit gives life
Mm-hmm,
and the letter is where death comes in.
mm-hmm.
Do you have currently in the Senate, in Parliament, do you have codes of conduct? This now is pure ethical considerations, which allows certain activities or certain consequences to flow regardless of the strict legal technical outcomes. Do you have are members sworn or bound by any codes of conduct which would have something like what you said if Floyd Morris' name is called? Just if your name is called, just the attention that it draws and the doubt that it casts, you step away. Is there such a code?
I'm not aware of. I'm not aware of any such code. That has not been brought to my attention. What I know that has happened is that there are codes of conduct that have been signed by the political parties that are not
Leading
Yeah.
to
uh,
elections that
Yeah,
are
that
but
not
are not
enforceable.
those
parliamentary.
yeah,
Yeah,
but those
they are
seem to
not
be
parliamentary.
yeah, those seem to be PR documents more so than real covenants. What do
Yeah.
you think about such? Because usually, I mean, let's get sort of pedestrian in our analysis. Even at the household level. when you want to change the culture or to curb certain behaviors, you begin by having some agreed standards that people subscribe to, whether they understand it or not. Sometimes whether they even think it's fair, but it is a standard that you hold to, and you begin to practice it until the muscle accepts the movement and it becomes the culture of the house. How do you feel about such a course being taken in the Houses of Parliament?
No, I mean, most definitely. I mean, a code of conduct and codes of practice are integral to any modern democracy. And I mean, I believe that we should be there in 21st century Jamaica. You know, I mean, these are some of the things that will help to strengthen our democracy. And you know, based on how I see things happening in the Jamaican society now, we have to do everything that is lawful, everything that is legal, to make sure that we send a signal to the broader populace that we lead to say we are serious about making a difference in Jamaica.
That is an excellent note, Senator, on which to wrap up our conversation with you this morning. I can't, if you know what I had to fight to get to you, you would
Understand
understand
that it was
that
necessary, it
that
was needed. We
this is a
needed to
much
hear
needed event.
what are your thoughts. But
Yeah,
Yes.
but
So
you know, I mean, I can't understand how you have to fight so hard to get to me.
can I
spiritual.
tell you?
It's
No,
spiritual. If we
it
say
wasn't.
spiritual, you
Can
understand.
I tell you, it wasn't just to get to you because you were there and you were willing, but
All the other forces.
we have 4 hours on air this morning, and our first minute on air started with this conversation with you. You know, we got to the station. There were just some challenges that are both embarrassing and unspeakable to admit to
Uh,
on air.
But we
But I
uh,
was determined, we were determined that we would speak with you this morning. I hope it is the first of many conversations. There is a groundswell of support for what you are doing. As you hear, Pastor himself in this room has in his home a daughter, a child with a disability, and she
yes,
is functioning at, I think, the optimal level. And our desire, I think, his desire as a parent is to see that she is denied nothing to which she is entitled under the
right.
Constitution.
absolutely,
You met her, you know. You
So,
absolutely.
presented to her at some awards. You were the
yeah,
person who
well,
presented the
I'm
award to
sure
her.
Senator has met many other famous
No, but
people.
but you
Well,
remember her. You remember her. The last
yes,
So,
social
you know,
sciences.
Senator, out before you came on, I was just teased into asking you a question about the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life, and here's why. On one of our programs a day or two ago, or maybe last week even,
Last week.
um, we were speaking about those behaviors in the princes of our land, and you are one of our esteemed princes, those behaviors which lead to bad decision making, to condemnation of the nation as a whole, and how we curb those behaviors. Where do we turn to? The lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life were what we talked about. How are you coping as a person in high politics?
I start laugh. I wonder why.
ah,
Speak
boy,
to me,
you
my
know,
prince.
I tell you,
How are
what
you
is
managing?
saving, what is saving me is my spiritual anchor. You know,
Ah,
because we all are human beings, and you know, we have our frailties. And I mean, I am deeply committed to my wife, and you know, I've been holding true to my commitments, and that has been held together because of my commitment to God. And um, you know, I sometimes sometimes I'm very happy. I'm very happy that I'm not sick because you know, you know, my mother always, when she was much stronger, she said she don't know what would happen if I was foolish sighted. Um,
Mm.
and she was speaking about the ladies because you know how a lot of ladies, you know, um, make themselves available
Available.
to me. But I have a lot of female friends, but I have to control that. They know where I stand, and I just keep it in a particular context.
All
So
right.
I have to give God thanks for the restraint that He has caused me to display thus far.
Do you know, we also had the scripture without vision, without revelation, the people cast off all restraint. So I am glad
Yes,
to hear you use the word restraint because it is the vision that you have, which I think
yes,
is at the heart of your anchored position. But I thank you for taking the time to speak with us
yes,
this morning. I think it is the
yes.
first of several conversations, and I told you
Absolutely.
one morning I want us to sit together at the table where time is not a constraint. Thank you very
Right.
much, Senator. I appreciate all that you have
Absolutely.
shared. I know that the listeners who are speaking to us online feel the same way. You have been called an astute and noble man. Hopefully, not the
Okay.
first time,
Thank, thank
but
you. Thank you. All
courtesy of
right.
the Best
Thank you.
FM listeners. Bless you. Have a great day, and we'll
You
speak
too.
again.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Bye bye.
Blessings.
Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.